Alright, today you're going to do the Circles Part 2 retake assignment. You must complete and pass the Educated video before you retake the test. In the first one, in this circle, the measure of arc QR is equal to 72. What is the measure of angle QRP, or QPR, which is here? Notice that is an inscribed angle, so we want to make sure that we use the inscribed angle arc, which says inscribed angles are equal to half the measure of the intercepted arcs. So the way that we find that is if the arc is 72, then we got to say 72 divided by 2. So the measure of angle QPR is 36 degrees. You work this one. In this one, points J, K, M, and L are on the circle. What is the length of PL? And PL would be this segment. So we know that we're going to use the theorem that says the product of the length of the segments is one chord is equal to the product of the length of the segments of the other chord. Now remember, product means multiply. So if I multiply the parts of segment JL, that would be 8 times X. And that's going to be equal to the product of the length of the other chord, which would be 10 times 16. And if I work that out, I would have 8X equals 160. So if I use the division property of equality and divide both sides by 8, X equals 20. So PL equals 20. You work this one. Next question. In the circle, MB is a tangent and MR is the secant drawn to the circle from point M. Points B, R, and S lie on the circle. Determine the measure of angle BMR. That is an angle on the exterior, so exterior angles formed by secants and tangents are equal to half the difference of the intercepted arcs. So to work that out, I know the angle BMR is going to be equal to half. So I'm going to divide by 2. The arcs, the sum of the arcs, so it means to add. So if I work that out, 80 plus 150 is 230 divided by 2. So the measure of angle BMR is 115. So that'd be the answer to that one. You work this one. Number 4, in circle N, PR is the diameter. What the measure of angle PNQ is 135 degrees. So if I do PNQ, that's going to be 135 degrees. What is the measure of arc QR? So I need to find the measure of angle QRN or QNR. So if I know it divides it from 100, the diameter divides the circle in half, so that's 180 degrees. I need to subtract 135. So that would give 45 degrees. So I know arc equals 45 degrees. And the theorem I used was central angles because it is at the center. You work this one. The next question says, in the diagram, AC and AD are secants drawn to the circle from point A. Points B, C, D, and E lie on the circle. The length of AD is represented by X. Determine the value of X. So if I want to make sure that I answer the question, these are secants and tangents. So I know I'm going to use the product length of secant or tangents to work it out is equal to the product of the length of the other secant times its exterior part. So the secant for AC would be 10. The exterior part would be 4. If I look at the other secant, the secant is X and the exterior part is 5. So if I simplify, 10 times 4 is 40 equals X times 5 is 5X. If I use the division property of equality, I divide both sides by 5. So it tells me 40 divided by X, 5 is 8. So X equals 8. You work this one. Number 6, points S, T, U, and V lie in the circle. The measure of arc TU is represented by X. Find the value of X. If I look in there, I know I'm looking at angles and arcs. Those are interior angles formed by chords. So I know that the angle is equal to half the sum of the arcs. So the angle, I know, is 75 degrees, and that's equal to half. That means I divide by 2 the sum of the arcs. So arcs are x and 110. So to me, the easiest way to do it is to make it a proportion. When I cross multiply, 75 times 2 is 150. 1 times x plus 110 is x plus 110. And if I use the subtraction property of equality to solve for x, I subtract 110 from both sides. So 40 equals x. You work this one. And this one, describe how you construct an inscribed and circumscribed circle of a triangle. What you need to do is look up at the anchor charts on the wall and see if you can fill in the blanks there. On this one, describe what each construction has in common. Again, look at the anchor charts and see what they have in common there. Explain why the angles of a triangle inscribed in a circle is equal to 180 degrees using what you know about inscribed angles. Make sure you also use what you know about circles. On this one, consider the triangle shown, which can prove the angles in the triangles are congruent. If I look at the mark made here, that's indicating an angle, and that angle is going to be congruent to this angle in this triangle. This mark here is going to be a side mark, and it's congruent to this side in this triangle. And B would be an angle mark, and it's congruent to angle E. So that would give me angle, side, angle. Notice that the side's in between the two angles, so it wouldn't be D. Do the same thing on this one. In this one, triangle KLM is a right triangle with right angle M as shown. Which of the following is true? I can look at my picture. If theta is at Y, that would give me sine theta, sine Y, equals opposite, which is 2 over 6. And if I use my relationship between complementary angles and sine and cosine, I know that the cosine of the other angle is also going to be equal to 2 over 6. So that would give me this. You work this one. Points W, X, and Y lie on circle O. What is the measure of angle WYX, which is here? I know that I want to, that's an inscribed angle, so I got to find the measure of the arc. Angle WOX is a central angle, so it would be equal. So arc WX is 80. So angle, the inscribed angle is going to be equal to half of that. So 80 divided by 2 would give me my answer, B. You work this one. Number 10, in circle O, BC is a diameter, and the measure of arc AB is 122. Now, to me, it helps if you put that on the picture. The question wants to find what is the measure of angle ABC, which would be this angle. And that angle is not intercepted by the arc. This is the intercepted arc. So to find that intercepted arc, I need to take 180. The diameter divides the circle in half. I need to subtract 122. So that's going to give me, let's see, 58. And since this is an inscribed angle, I have to take half of it. That's why the answer is A. You work this one. Number 11, line segment PR is a tangent to the circle O at point R. Point P is located outside the circle O, but points Q, R, and S lie on the circle. What is the value of X? So I have to use the secant tangent theorem, which says the secant or tangent, which is 2x, times its exterior part, which is also 2x, is going to be equal to the other secant from Q to P. Have to add those to get 16. So the secant is 16 times the exterior part, which outside is 4. And let's simplify. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. And 16 times 4 is 64. If I use the division property of equality and divide both sides by 4, that would give me x squared equals 16. What number squared is 16? 4. You work this one. A ladder is 4 meters long. Jonas places the ladder against the wall and forms a 70-degree angle with the ground. What is the value of m? Approximate the height in meters that the ladder reaches on the wall. So I know that this is going to be my theta. M is my opposite side and 4 is my hypotenuse. So if I use SOHCAHTOA or my formula sheet, I'm going to have to use sine because that's what compares opposite and hypotenuse. So I would say sine theta is 70 degrees equals m over 4, opposite over hypotenuse, and make that proportion and cross multiply. So when I cross multiply, I multiply sine 70 times 4, and the calculator tells me 3.76. You work this one. Number 13, isosceles triangle RST is inscribed in a circle. RT and ST are congruent. To me, it helps if you mark them. The measure of arc RS is 104. I would put that on the arc RS. What is the measure of angle RST? There's angle RST. So I know that it's not intercepted by the 104 arc. So to find the 104 arc, I'd say 360 minus 104 is going to give me 256. But that's divided into 2 equal arcs, so I need to divide by 2. So that gives me 128. And since angle RST is inscribed, I need to take half of that. So my answer is C, 64. You work this one. On this one, which is a tangent of circle P. Remember, a tangent only touches the circle at one spot. So that would be N. You work this one. Last question. Quadrilateral JKLM is inscribed in this circle. Which statement must be true? Angles K and angle L are congruent. Well, if you look at that, here's angle K and here's angle L. You can tell that one's acute and that one's obtuse. So that wouldn't be correct. B, K, and L are supplementary. That one could be correct. Alright, so those could be it. Angles J and L are complementary. If I look at angle J and angle L, I know they don't add to give me 90. Angles J and L are supplementary. Remember, that means they add to give you 180. And that's the rule. Opposite angles are always supplementary. Use that rule to answer to find X.